If you knew what your true yes was and what your true no was in all areas of your life, would you be able to choose faster and easier? What futures would those choices create? Everyone is capable of connecting to their bodies in a way to have more exuberant and joyful living now and in the future. Now, here is your host of Choosing a Different Future with Siris.
Hi, everyone. I'm Siris Raquel Rivas-Verdejo, and you're here with Choosing a Different Future with Siris, myself. And today's topic is when you're not sure what you want. A big one. There's so many places where we can go with this. So I'm very curious what's going to show up. I got some really interesting messages and questions about this, so I will try to address as many of them as I can. And if I don't get to you, or if you don't get to send me a message until after the replay, go ahead and email me at empoweringlightlanguage@gmail.com, and we can have a bit of a chat and I can address any of those questions. Now, before we get started on our discussion today about this really topic for many of us, I want to make sure that you know that where this is coming from. So I am a family and child coach where I actually look at the gifts and strengths of everybody in the family. And part of that is looking at what each person in the family desires, what they want, what they're interested in, and actually making sure that everyone is having their needs met instead of maybe one or two people's needs eclipsing everyone else's. And for the parents out there, I get that that's a lot of the case. What's going on with you is that you're putting your kids first. And what if it's not about the kids or you? What if your desires and what your hopes and dreams are could actually be addressed as well? And then I'm also a body relationship coach, which means that I work with people so that they can connect with their bodies as I am empowering and facilitating and guiding their bodies to be more awakened so that they can actually have more joyful and exuberant living, and for them to be able to connect with other bodies if they would like to. And I happen to have created a wonderful body process that's super gentle and loving that allows us to have more clarity about what we want. And it's called the living and dying body process. And what this does is it forces you to actually look at what's possible uniquely for you in this life on this planet with your body. And then anything that you'd like to create with your body on this planet, which, your body's kind of along for the ride if you're actually trying to create something on this planet, a business, a relationship, health, so many things. This allows you to actually have that with a lot more ease, a lot more joy, and clarity, clarity, clarity. And so I really hope that this contributes to you. This is going to be a wild ride. I can already tell just the energy, just perceive the energy of you considering, well, where am I not sure of what I want? And we have some great ways for you to actually explore this further. We have the Expansive Energies group. This month's theme is What's Your Power? And it's all about you making sure that you're using all of the powers, all of the tools, all of the energies at your disposal. And the group is about that all the time, but we're actually going to be doing power and clarity activations this month. And each month has a different theme. So no matter when you hear this recording, and whenever you hear this discussion, check out this page at empoweringlightlanguage.com/expansive energies, and you'll be able to explore what's going on in the group at any time. We do group sessions twice a month for 45 minutes where people get to get facilitation, really prioritize their self-care, and really lean into, well, what do they want? And are they actually taking action to have that show up and for them to have that as a part of their lives? Now, today's topic, let me read the description for you. I'm got to take a couple of breaths because there's so much intensity already that I'm perceiving in the people that are asking for this topic. And many people have been asking for this topic. So the description, what do you do when you're not sure what you want? What do you do when the messages you're getting aren't clear? We all have moments of doubt and confusion where we would totally be willing to take action, except where do we go? Who do we talk to? What is that first step that will take us toward the future we would truly like to have? Instead of staying stuck in the judgment and paralysis, what if we could connect with the elements of living to know what we truly desired to have as our lives and businesses so that we could take action more easily? If we knew what we wanted and what unique gifts we had in relation to creating that, how much faster would we have it? So, today, what we're going to be doing is going and talking about the elements of living. People come to me not knowing what they want in their lives, in their relationships, with their businesses all the time. And after we look at the limiting patterns that are running in their lives and which of the elements of living they have been using to create, they realize that they know a lot more about what they want than they had realized before, than they actually had acknowledged before. So we will be looking at the limiting patterns that may be running and discuss the elements of living today so that we can be more aware of what we are using to create our present and our future. And so that we can decide what action we'd like to take to move forward, okay? To actually get out of this, I don't know, I'm not sure, and into I know, and this is what I'm going to be willing to do and willing to have now and in the future. All right. So take a moment. This is a big topic. When you're not sure what you want, take a moment and share the link to this episode with anyone that you know who is struggling to figure out what they want in any area of their life so that they can create without the struggle. They can create without that I don't know, and that block, okay? It'll only take like 15 seconds max, all right? Go ahead and do that. And then get comfy in your seats. Get comfy wherever you are. Really make sure that you're with your body in a way that is going to help you really receive this information. And if you are wondering about receiving, make sure to check out our next episode as well, which is going to be when you find it hard to receive. That's the topic of that episode, and we'll talk more about that later. Now, as you get comfy, as you're with your body, maybe give your body a hug. Make sure you're with your body during this discussion, because sometimes what we do when we are about to discuss something that is a bit uncomfortable or that we have to actually look at and we've been avoiding looking at it for a while, we start to go and leave our bodies. We start to go and float away somewhere else. I'm not sure where. For everyone, it's something different. And with that, it makes it really challenging for us to actually know what we want. Go figure. So we say, I'm not sure what I want. And then we go and leave, making it even harder for us to know what we want. And it might be that we leave our bodies. It might be that we just check out and we space out. It might be that we go and distract ourselves with other things. It might be that we go and ask other people what we should want instead of looking at it for ourselves. And it's not that there's anything wrong with asking other people. It just really depends on how well those people know you and if they have any hidden agendas with letting you know what they believe about you and what's possible for you. Okay, so you have to be really discerning and really choosy about who you ask advice about related to what you want, because it's not really their life, it's your life. And so you get to choose. And all of us, we have these moments where things are unclear. Even if you knew what you wanted at some moment in your life, we all have these fluctuations, ebbs and flows, where it is challenging sometimes to be like, okay, now with this new development, oh, I have a kid now. Oh, I'm starting this business now, but I'm not sure what business it is. Oh, I'd like to have a new partner. I'd like to start dating again. Maybe we haven't been dating. And what do I want with this? So let's actually look at why it's important to actually look at limiting patterns so that we can know what we want. And we're going to also talk about why it's important to know about the elements of living as well. So limiting patterns. Limiting patterns are so many. I actually broach this in the very first session of any coaching session that I have with people. I go through a list of limiting patterns that are the most occurring, the highest occurring that I have found to be the case, and that were definitely running my life at some point. And I created my coaching program, the Choosing It All Your Way coaching program, so that people could have specific exercises, specific things that they could do to stop it from running, stop these patterns from running, so they're not at the effect of them anymore. And they could actually have a true partnership with their bodies to create phenomenal lives. Now, limiting patterns, if you're not willing to be aware of them, they can take you away from what you truly want. You can say, until your face is blue, I want this, this, and this. But if a limiting pattern is running, it makes it way harder, if not impossible, for you to actually have what you'd like. So some limiting patterns to consider. I'm going to pull up my list here. So some limiting patterns that are often running, if there's a way that you are killing your body, that's a really big one. A lot of us are choosing different things that are killing our bodies, from when we're not listening to our bodies and we choose against what information it's giving us. Each of those moments, each of those times, we are chipping and chipping and chipping away at that possibility of the exuberant living that is available to us. So we might have some of that, but not as much as what is possible when we start to kill off our bodies. We can be eating things that aren't healthy for us, that our body doesn't process properly, that our body's asking us not to eat, but we choose against that awareness. We could be being around people that are really unkind and toxic for us, and then accumulating all this anxiety, all this fear, all of this doubt and confusion and judgment in our bodies. And then that starts to kill our bodies. This is the type of things that starts to age us. Okay. So this is just one of many different limiting patterns that could be affecting things. And so there's things about age, there's things about time, there's things about fixing, saving, helping people. We're going to get into some of these limiting patterns so that you can be more clear on what you want. And then, well, gosh, why is it important for you to know about the elements of living? Well, when I talk about the elements of living, I'm referring to the information that I've acquired over the years of my life, but also during interactions with clients and friends and family, and especially the clients that have received the living and dying body process. There were these certain elements, these certain archetypes that show up over and over again that aren't just a conceptual thing. These are actual energies that are available to us, that are around us everywhere we look, and also within us, that for some of us, we have them shut down, we have them asleep, we've been ignoring them, we've been hiding them. And then there's also those that we have actually awakened, that they have been activated. And for those that are activated, those are the ones that we've been using to create our lives so far. And if we actually could activate more and more and more of these elements of living and our awareness of them, something really amazing can show up. And for each of us, it's going to be a different kind of amazing. I'm curious, what's the type of amazing that would show up if you had this information for yourself? So with the elements of living, when you actually identify where you're already having these ingredients, all of these different yummy pieces to this beautiful concoction that we call our lives, our relationships, our businesses, then we get to create a phenomenal life that's worth living. But most importantly, it's worth living to you. You find it valuable. You find it worthwhile to get out of bed for that particular life that you've created when you use these elements of living. It also allows you to awaken these asleep elements. So you can use the ones that are already activated to awaken the ones that have been asleep, that maybe you had them awake before and then something happened that shut them down. Okay. And there's many examples of what that could be, from abuse and trauma to certain breakups, to different life circumstances that maybe have made it so that you are ignoring them. And then there's the importance of looking at the elements of living is also about stopping anywhere that you have been misled by any misinformation, anything that's irrelevant to you. And then you might be using what other people have been told you about how to create your life to create your life. And then it's taking you off track and you're actually creating a life that's not really the one that you want, that's really for you, that's going to work for you. It's actually a life that's based on other people's expectations and projections. And is that actually sustainable? Is that actually enjoyable? So it's time for our first break. When we return, we will discuss the elements of the elements of living and the limiting patterns that might be functioning. And so you are listening to Choosing a Different Future with Siris, with myself, Siris, on the Inspired Choices Network. When we return, we will continue to discuss when you're not sure what you want. We will be right back.
Most people haven't been taught how to listen and partner with their bodies in order to create lives that include clarity, pleasure, ease, and connection. Tuning in to Choosing a Different Future with Siris, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and resources on how to use your awareness of bodies and energy to your advantage. Siris is a family and child coach and therapeutic energy worker who will guide you to get clear and acknowledge what's brilliant, magical, and a gift about you.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Choosing a Different Future show with Siris. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Connect with Siris through her website, empoweringlightlanguage.com, or send an email to empoweringlightlanguage@gmail.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. I am Siris Raquel Rivas-Verdejo on Choosing a Different Future with Siris. And today our topic is when you're not sure what you want. So before we went on break, we were discussing why it's important to look at the limiting patterns that might be running in our lives, because it might take us away from knowing what we want. And also this idea of the elements of living that has come from the living and dying body process, my own experiences, and what I've heard and what I've been able to be witness to in sessions when people have received the living and dying body process. And so these different concepts, these different energies show up for us to co-create with, for us to partner with, so that we can actually create our lives in a way that will be joyful for us, and that will be something that is, gosh, perhaps beyond anything that anyone that we have ever met, anyone that we've ever heard of has considered or chosen before. And that's, I think, part of what, for some of us, we're like, I'm not sure what I want, because if we're using what other people are choosing around us, we're like, well, I don't want that, and I don't want that, and I don't want that. And that's good to know what you don't want, but it's not the same thing as knowing what you do want. But it's a place to start. So let's look at, let's look at some of the limiting patterns first, a little bit more. So I mentioned before the break about one of them being where you're killing your body. These are different choices that you might be choosing that, when you choose them, are actually killing your body. So you have less energy, you have less clarity, you have less motivation to actually choose, even if you did have the information about what you wanted. One of the big ones that I find people are having running in their lives as a limiting pattern is where they are using their gifts and capacities against them. So if you're aware of the future, if you're aware of bodies, if you create really differently in a really dynamic, nonlinear way, if you're someone that is really aware of energy, be it of the earth, of other people, and you're at the effect of them. There's many empaths that listen to this show. Hi, empaths. What if you could be aware of what's going on in other people's worlds, what they're feeling, what they're thinking, and not actually lock it into your body? Not actually, that's another way that we can be killing our bodies if we hold it in versus, oh, I'm aware of this, I'm noticing this, and let it flow on through as just information. Okay. Another one, if we're functioning from fixing, saving, and helping other people, we're often having it be something where it's a distraction from us actually looking at what we want. So we'll find it so that it connects really beautifully with one of the categories of the elements of living, distractors. Distractors is one of the categories, and we're going to talk about the different categories in a moment. But is there anywhere that you're using fixing other people's lives and problems, helping them, saving them, to distract you from you actually having a life that's really fun and joyful, for you to be able to date and have relationships with people that are nurturing, that are adventurous, that are open, and or whatever else you would like them to be? And if you are, what if you chose something different? What have you considered a different possibility, even if it's just over the course of listening to this conversation? What if you could have it be way, way, way more inclusive? And when I say inclusive, I mean inclusive of all of these energies available to you, of all of your gifts and capacities, and of all of you. A lot of times when we go into the role of I'm the fixer, I'm the problem solver, I'm the savior, dun, 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 here I am to save the world, to save these people, we are actually not including ourselves in our lives, in what we truly, truly want. So there's a whole list of all these different limiting patterns. I may circle back into talking about some more of them as we talk about the elements of living. Like, for instance, what if you're lying to yourself? That's another one. That's a big one. That will stop you from actually knowing what you want. Because for some of you, you know what you want, but you say, no, I don't know, so that you're not actually having to take action to institute the things that will get you what you want. You're like, no, I don't really know, or I'm confused. It's like, are you really confused? Or are you telling yourself that you're confused so that you don't actually have to choose something different than what you've been choosing so far? And it's just so far. You can change and pivot at any time, okay? At any time. So the elements of living, there's different elements of living. And we talked about before the break the importance of knowing what they are. One of the ones that we've already mentioned as a category of the elements of living is the distractors. The distractors are these elements that take you away from who you are, take you away from knowing what's actually true for you, like what you want. And it also distracts you from actually employing and using your gifts and capacities. So it piggybacks and they intersect with the limiting patterns, because one of the limiting patterns is not using or ignoring your gifts and capacities. Another one is using your gifts and capacities against you. Those are both great ways to avoid actually creating your life in a way that's actually going to work for you. So some examples of the distractors, and there's a bunch. So these are the categories, and I'm going to hop around and give you some examples of the specific elements of living that are underneath each of the categories. And we're going to get through as many as we can. There are over 50 different elements of living, and there are these different categories that are these little buckets that help us kind of organize and get to know what they are. So one of the distractors is the loop, and that's one that really keeps us from knowing what we want. The loop is anywhere that you're looping on a conversation, looping on a moment in your life, looping on on trauma, looping on a story, okay? And we loop and we loop and we keep repeating it like a broken record. And it's like as if it's happening right now, all the time. And even it could be an insult, it could be a judgment that we have of ourselves, um, it could be something that happened in our childhood that we're reliving over and over again. And what this does is it stops us from being in the present. It's very hard for us to know what we want if we're constantly living in the past, if we're looping and looping on these things that have already happened, or we're making it a part of our present when it doesn't have to be. So, do any of you have a loop running? Something where you're repeating over and over again a story, where you're repeating some event that's happened in your life. There's many ways that PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, can show up, but you don't have to have had a traumatic event in any traditional sense to have a loop running. But those types of events can also be a part of a loop. Okay, so there's a lot of different intersects that are going on here. So where is a loop running in your world that you could actually stop running by awakening your awareness of these distractors? Okay, it's like, okay, hi loops. And it's really simple. All you have to do is actually acknowledge and greet the element of living. Hi distractors. Hi loops. Where are you in my life? Where are you in my relationships? Where are you with how I do business? I have many people that come to me and they're still looping on a breakup that they've had before. They are looping on a coworker or a business partner that thwarted them and scammed them or ran off before. And they're making that relevant now instead of being like, got it, got that lesson. I know what to do now. I'm not going to be choosing people like that. Moving on, next, up, onward and upward. But instead, we'll keep going and making that seem like it's something that we would choose now. And if we were truly willing to be aware of our limiting patterns, of these elements of living, it wouldn't be possible for us to choose that again. All right. So if you don't want to have that, what is the other side of it? Oh, I'd like someone that has my back. I'd like someone that I can count on. I'd like someone that shows up. I'd like someone that's kind and respectful. That someone that is aware if maybe they've experienced abuse and isn't at the effect of it anymore. So I'm totally willing to work with and be friends with and date people who have experienced abuse. It's very different than saying no one that's ever experienced abuse, because that's cutting off a lot of the people on the planet, most of them, honestly, in some way or another. But what if even if they've experienced abuse, they are actually proactively looking at it and addressing it? Okay, they're actually willing to do the work to actually be aware of their own limiting patterns and maybe look at these elements of living as well so that they can create something different. Another example of a distractor is the hoarder. The hoarder is all about when you're hoarding your gifts and capacities. You keep your friends to yourself. How many people know of people that they get jealous or upset if their friend starts hanging out with other people? It's like we can receive from multiple people at the same time. Again, if you have a hard time with this, check out our next discussion about when you find it hard to receive. Because this is one of those things that if you are hoarding your friends, you're hoarding your gifts, you're not letting people know about your business, your services, how you've contributed to people. You're not letting yourself be out there, being visible to be found for dating. All these different possible examples. You are hoarding yourself. You're keeping away one of the most beautiful things on the planet, you. And some of you are having a hard time hearing that and receiving that, and that's okay for right now. I invite you to soften any walls and really hear me with this. You are one of the most beautiful gifts on the planet. And if you look at that and actually start to acknowledge that, not from a place of arrogance, but just an acknowledgement, I'm here. I'm willing to connect with people. I'm willing to create a different future that beyond what I've created so far. I wonder how much more clarity you would have about what you want if you started to actually see the gift of you. If you didn't lie to yourself, another limiting pattern about the contribution that you are to this planet. If no one has told you recently, I'll be the one to tell you. The world is better with you in it. And until you recognize that, it's going to be a lot more challenging for you to know what you want. Okay. Because it's like, well, why bother knowing what I want if I'm not actually going to be of value to anybody here, to the planet, to the earth, to the world, to anyone else? What if you being valuable starts with you actually recognizing the value that you be to yourself? And then, yes, include the world and things like that. So it's time for our second break, everyone. When we return, we will continue to discuss limiting patterns and the elements of living and how we can use this to actually know what we want. You are listening to Choosing a Different Future with Siris, myself, Siris, on the Inspired Choices Network. When we return, we will continue to discuss when you're not sure what you want. We will be right back.
Most people haven't been taught how to listen and partner with their bodies in order to create lives that include clarity, pleasure, ease, and connection. Tuning in to Choosing a Different Future with Siris, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and resources on how to use your awareness of bodies and energy to your advantage. Siris is a family and child coach and therapeutic energy worker who will guide you to get clear and acknowledge what's brilliant, magical, and a gift about you.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is the Choosing a Different Future show with Siris. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Connect with Siris through her website, empoweringlightlanguage.com, or send an email to empoweringlightlanguage@gmail.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Siris Raquel Rivas-Verdejo on Choosing a Different Future with Siris. And today our show topic is when you're not sure what you want. So before we went on break, we started to discuss some of the limiting patterns that might be functioning that keep us away from knowing what we want, and some of the elements of living that if we were willing to actually have them be activated and awakened, we could actually know what we want, actually know what we desire, and know about our gifts and capacities a lot more quickly and easily, so that we can then use them to create our lives, create our businesses, create our relationships, or anything else that we would like to create. Before we continue our discussion, I would love to remind everyone to please join us in the chat in the future episodes. I love that people are in the chat now. And then also connect with us using the ICN app, which is the Inspired Choices Network app. We are on all smart TVs. You can watch our episodes on any smart TV by downloading and connecting with the ICN app on there. And you can look up and subscribe to any of the episodes. We have a lot of great podcasts, a lot of great vodcasts. And please go ahead and subscribe to my show so that you can keep up to date on all of the upcoming episodes and discussions that we'll be having. So, and we're on 450 platforms now, of all from podcasts, any podcast and TV platform you can think of, we were probably on it. So make sure to connect with us on those. All right. Lovely, lovely people. One of the things that I'd like to go over a little bit is the different categories of living beyond the distractors. So we talked about the distractors before break and some of the examples. Remember, there are over 50 different elements of living. There seems to be new ones that I get information about through my clients and through giving living and dying body process sessions all the time. And yet these categories are pretty set. So I'm going to let you know the categories, these buckets that we organize the different elements of living in, and go from there. And I'm curious which ones you think you are like, oh, I'd like to know more about that one. And then let me know. So there are the distractors that we've mentioned. There are the influencers, the door openers, the discoverers, outlaws, the powers, the worlds, and the destroyers. Okay. And what I love about each of these is just like what we've been told about creating our lives, most of these names of the categories are not going to match what they actually contribute to your life, what they're actually about. So it's really important to educate yourself and dedicate yourself to knowing more about these elements of living if you'd like to actually create a life that is beyond your wildest imaginings. And so we have more information about the elements of living beyond what we can cover today, but I'm going to go as far as we can go today. And you can check out this information at empoweringlightlanguage.com/elements with an S, elements of living. Okay. So the next one I'd like to talk about, given the elements of living, remember they all intersect with these different limiting patterns as well, is the door openers. The door openers are all about knowing truly, truly, truly which doors to open and which doors to close. Door openers, when you really have your element of living of a door opener and you acknowledge yourself as a door opener, you know what things need to end and what things need to begin. Where you need to open the door to receive more, again, that word receiving, we're going to talk about it next week, and where it's not about not receiving, but okay, I'm not going to receive in the same way that I had before. So we're never going to cut off our receiving. We're just going to interact with the information in a different way by perhaps closing a door. So door openers, a couple examples of them and how by being aware of them, we can actually know what we want. I'm going to look up some of the door opener examples here in my list, and I'm going to see which ones pop. You know, I just love, like, they often will like, hey, look at me. Hey, say hi to me. So just like with the distractors and what we did before the last break, go ahead and say hi, door openers. My stomach's growling. There's a lot of space being created with this discussion. I like it. Thank you for contributing to this discussion, everyone. Be it here in the chat, be it energetically with your questions. And for those of you that sent in questions, hopefully you're getting the answers that you're looking for and the awareness about this that you are willing to receive. So hi, door openers. And what we do with this is when we greet each of these different elements of living, we actually get to have more awareness about them and how we've been using them so far. And if we've had them be hidden or asleep, we get to invite them to awaken. All right. So that we can employ them instead of being like, I don't know. Yeah, you do. You know. All right. So the carver is one of the elements of living that's a door opener that would like us to acknowledge it. So hi, carvers. Hello. So I'm saying hi to all of the carvers that are listening right now, because remember, each of these elements of living are something that we have within us, but it's also about acknowledging the carvers that are within me right now as I'm saying this, right? And the carvers are those that are willing to use energies, to use words, be it written form or verbal, to actually open a door to a new possibility. So think about the last time you read a really delicious book that you could not put down, that you, by reading those words, you went into another world. You traveled somewhere. I mean, I'm an avid book lover. Books have saved my life. There was never a time in which I didn't have a book with me, be it a journal that I was writing in or a book that I was reading. And it really was this haven for me growing up. Perhaps that's the case for some of you. And so think about the feeling that you feel when you open up a book and next thing you know, you're transported somewhere else. All right. This is different than leaving your body like a distractor would. Leaving your body when you're actually at the effect of your lack of awareness of the distractors, that category. And instead, this is actually about consciously using the words to invite you to a new possibility, using these energies of the carver, the messages within the text, the messages within whatever you write in your emails and business, to your texting and conversations with people in your personal life. When you're willing to truly embody and be the energy of a carver, you will know the words to use that will open up the door to more. And you will also know the words to use to close a door. This is handy when you're firing someone and you want to do it in a way that's honoring of them and kind, but still sends the message so there's no confusion. Same thing goes with breakups. Same thing goes with letting your kids know what they can't have versus what they can have. You'd like to open the door for the things that are an option, that are available right at that moment, and close the door, the ones that are not an option. Knowing what's actually true versus not actually passing on any lies that maybe you were told as a child. Okay. So the other thing with a carver that's really, really powerful is when you start writing, when you start acknowledging, and I have acknowledgement worksheets that I do with my coaching clients. When you start acknowledging some of the things that you do know you want, you can actually awaken your powers as a carver to help that build momentum to know even more of the things that you desire. So for instance, if I say I really truly desire, I want greater health. Oh my goodness. I would love to have more energy. I would love to be more enthusiastic about my life. I would like to have more mental clarity and not all of this chatter that's going on. Okay, write this down, acknowledge it for yourself. And then say, okay, how much more of a carver, how much more of a door opener can I be to know even more of what I truly want, what I truly, truly desire in my life? And then see what else pops into your head and what else pops into your head and what other energies start to get awakened so that you can actually have this information. You see that? So it's about, again, using where you already have some of these elements of living activated to then wake up those places where you have some unconsciousness running. You've been asleep, you've been shut down, you've been avoiding, you've been ignoring. It's okay. It's okay if that's what you've been choosing up until now about that area of your life. And then now you have this information. So you can choose it to use it if you'd like. Okay. How much more of a door opener can I be with this? How much more of a carver can I be wielding my energetic writing utensils, wielding these beautiful words, these words that are powerful, that have magic to them to create something more, something more. And I would like something more for each and every one of you. So given the other elements of living, which one should we talk about after our next break? We can talk about the influencers, the discoverers, the outlaws, the powers, the worlds, or the destroyers. And yes, a question that's coming up. So the distractors, yes, you would like to know and be the category of all those elements of living that are distractors, because if you're not willing to be them and be aware of them, you're actually going to be at the effect of them. So going la 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 la, I don't know about distractors, I'm not willing to actually be aware of them, you get more distracted. So anything that you ignore that you block your awareness who you actually are going to be at the effect of, you get blindsided by. And I don't know about you, but given the last couple of years, I'm done being blindsided by it. Okay, it's time for our third break of the show. When we return, we will discuss so much more of these elements of living and how they intersect with the limiting patterns so that we could know truly, truly what we want. You are listening to Choosing a Different Future show with Siris, myself, Siris, on the Inspired Choices Network. When we return, we will continue to discuss when you're not sure what you want. We will be right back.
Most people haven't been taught how to listen and partner with their bodies in order to create lives that include clarity, pleasure, ease, and connection. Tuning in to Choosing a Different Future with Siris, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and resources on how to use your awareness of bodies and energy to your advantage. Siris is a family and child coach and therapeutic energy worker who will guide you to get clear and acknowledge what's brilliant, magical, and a gift about you. This is the Choosing a Different Future show with Siris. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Connect with Siris through her website, empoweringlightlanguage.com, or send an email to empoweringlightlanguage@gmail.com. Now, back to the program.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Before break, we were talking about the door openers, the elements of living, the door openers, and the carver, one of the examples of the door opener, and how it intersects with us clearing and moving beyond some of these limiting patterns that stop us from knowing what we want. And let's go ahead and continue. So I get that the next element of living, one more that we can talk about, at least one more that we can talk about before we part ways today, is the worlds. The worlds are, gosh, there's so many different landscapes and worlds that we can actually use as a canvas to create our lives. And some examples of them include the City of Lights, the bridges, Dreamland. I did a whole video on Dreamland. You can check it out on my YouTube channel. The Divine Circus. For those of you that maybe get some of the energy of that, Paradise is another world that we can use to create more and to actually honor ourselves and have exuberant living. And so with the worlds, what happens with them is that it's a realm that feels like home. And this may or may not be the type of home that we desire, but it's a place that feels like either the home that we would like to have or the homes that we grew up in that maybe we'd like to create something different. But we can still use them as different spaces to acknowledge where we have gone, what we have chosen so far, and where we could go next. Okay. So one of the ones that's really popping right now is the City of Lights. And the City of Lights is really interesting. It's really about where we are connectors and where we are illuminating different things in the world by us being us. So think about where you shine. Where is it where you truly shine in your life? Where when you think about this activity or this place or being around certain people that have these different attributes, you brighten up. The light within you shines brighter. The City of Lights, as an example of the category of elements of living called the worlds, is inviting us to acknowledge the light within us, acknowledge where we actually shine bright, and then actually connect with all of these different other lights in the world so that we're actually choosing the people that make our light shine brighter and brighter and brighter. So one of the things that the City of Lights invites us to do is to look at who we've been choosing to interact with. Are they of high vibration? Are they people that want to learn more and create more and experience more? Are they people that are complacent, that are really acceptable, that accept like a very basic, mediocre life? Are these people that are really sad and really having a hard time? And it's not that we would ignore those people. That's not necessarily the most caring choice, but we have to include what we desire and making sure that we have ways and systems and self-care to keep brightening up and shining up our light, even if we are interacting with people that aren't creating and choosing as much. Okay. So one of the things that's really important with that is for us to look at who are the people that I'm spending the most time with? Who have I been making the most valuable in my life? And by me interacting with them and me making them the most valuable, is that shining my light brighter? Is it making me happier, joyful, and have more clarity on what I want? Or is it actually taking me away from that? Okay. And look at that for each of the different areas of your life where you would like to know what you'd like to have, what you really, really want. Okay. So the next show we're going to have, I want to make sure that you know about this, is when you find it hard to receive. I've mentioned it a couple times over the course of this discussion because it piggybacks beautifully with what we've been talking about when you're not sure about what you want. So the description for the next show is, where are the caring givers, the healers and educators of the world? Are we willing to receive as much as we give? If you've been told it's more valuable to give than to receive, and you're functioning from that, what does that create for your health, your life, and your relationships? What if it wasn't about one or the other? We can care for ourselves as we facilitate something greater in the bodies, lives, and businesses of others. So in this next talk next week, I will be sharing specific tips on how to prioritize self-care as you nurture, tend, and guide others so that you can have harmony with how you live your life. And it's really key to know what you want when you're also giving to others. And there's a reference to this episode, I think, that you'll notice. I'm going to make sure I piggyback and make those connections to this discussion as well. But the elements of living are super important to know about, and your limiting patterns are super important to know about. So if you haven't already gotten a copy of my relationships ebook, it's a 10-page quick reference that gives you different questions to ask so that you don't do self-sabotage in your relationships, including your relationships with yourself. Go ahead and email me at empoweringlightlanguage@gmail.com to get a copy of that. You can also reference it in some of the links. There's a page on my website at empoweringlightlanguage.com that you can actually click the link and receive in our library that ebook. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of ebooks available that they're anywhere from 10 to 15 pages or so for you to be able to check out and get some content to chew on. And consider joining us in the Elements of Living course. There is a course that is completely self-paced where you get to go and delve into each of these elements of living and find out which are awake, which are asleep, which have been hidden away, which have been blocked in your life, and then know how to activate them so that you can co-create and partner with them. Because remember, they are a part of you. They are waiting for you to create with them. So that course will force you to actually look at the ones that you are already employing, and that will stimulate your ability to be aware of the other ones that maybe you haven't been willing to be aware of so far. And I wonder what that would create for you and for your life, for your relationships, health, and businesses. Let's see, keep me posted on all of that. Make sure to check us out in the future episodes. We connect every week at 10 a.m. on Fridays, 10 a.m. Eastern in North America. All right. And check out our previous episodes as well so that you can continue to receive this good content. I'm looking to have it continue to be really good for you. And if you have any ideas on what future episodes topics we should do, please go ahead and email at empoweringlightlanguage@gmail.com. Thank you so much, everyone. It's been a great discussion today. I know we didn't get to all of the limiting patterns and all of the elements of living, but if you'd like more information, go ahead and explore the website or reach out, and I would love to talk about it more with each and every one of you. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to the Choosing a Different Future show. Siris returns Fridays at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Mountain, and 7 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Until then, keep choosing what will work for you and your body, your own unique way honoring what will work for you.